Hi everyone, welcome to Bad Fashion's YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make a straight gown. It's like an A-line gown with this fabric, this Ankara fabric, it's 6 yards. We're using it to make the gown, and then I'll be using this sequence fabric for my patches on top of the dress. Okay, so to get started, I'll be folding my gown. I won't be using the vertical length of my wrapper, I'll be using the horizontal length of the wrapper to get the full length of the person. And the full length is 16 inches. I'll be adding 2 inches for my hemming allowance. Okay, so I'll fold it. And then to determine the amount of fabric to place on fold, I'll be using the hip measurement, which is the biggest measurement of the person, and it is 50. So when we divide 50 by 4, we're going to have 12.5. So I'll be adding 4 inches to that measurement because, like I said, it's not a very straight gown. It's more like a small A-line gown. Okay. So when I add 4 to 12.5, I'm going to have 16.5. So I'll be folding 16.5, and then the length I'll be using is 60 inches plus 2 inches, that's 62. Okay, so I'll fold my fabric and we'll get started. Okay, so I've placed my fabric on fold. So as you can see, I have a width of 16.5 here. That's I'm starting from here, of course, ignoring the savage. So I'll go ahead and draw my starting line. So here is my starting line. Okay, so I'll go ahead and mark my waistline first before I come and mark my chest line. The waistline is 17 inches. The hip line is 25.5. And then the full length is 16 inches. So I have my 16 inches here. So I'm going to shift my fabric forward and then I'll mark my 16 inches and my 2 inches for hemming allowance. So here's my 16 inches, and then of course 2 inches for hemming allowance. So I'll go ahead and mark my lines out. Okay. So now I have this. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the shoulder measurement. First of all, before that, I'm going to mark the shoulder slope, marking 3 inches. Then I'll go ahead and mark 8 inches. Then I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant. So here is my shoulder slant. So now the actual shoulder measurement I'm working with is 17. 17 divided by 2 is 17 and 8.5 plus half inch for joining my sleeve. So that's brought us to 9 inches. So I'll just slant it towards the 9 inches. So this is my shoulder slant. So the bust I'm working with is bust 49. You divide it by 6 plus 1.5 to get the armhole measurement, which will serve as the chest line also. Having divided the bust by 6 plus 1.5, we have 9.6. So I'm going to mark my 9.6 from here. So this is the armhole measurement, the chest line. So I'll bring down the same shoulder measurement here to achieve a straight line. We have 9 inches here. So I'll come here and bring the same 9 inches here. So here's my 9 inches. So I'll use my ruler to connect it to be a straight line. So this is now the armhole line. Okay, this is the chest line. Okay, so I'll go ahead and enter the bust measurement. The bust divided by 4, that's 49 divided by 4 will give us 12 and quarter. So I'm going to enter the 12 and quarter here. So here is our 12 and quarter. Okay, so with this now we can draw our armhole because this is where the armhole is supposed to stop. So I'll get the midpoint of the armhole, that's the midpoint of my 9.6 by folding my tape like this. So I'll mark it here. So I'm going to go in by half of an inch, going by half of an inch. This is for the back armhole. Okay, I'll mark my half of an inch here. Okay, then I'll also mark 3/4 of an inch on the same point. So this is for the back armhole and this is for the front armhole. So I'll go ahead and connect it like this. Okay, and then bring in my curve to connect it to the bust measurement. So we have our back armhole. So I'm going to draw the front armhole, which is the one I went in by 3/4 of an inch. This going in is to eliminate bulge around the armhole. You know, there is a shoulder measurement that is coming down this way. Of course, the midpoint of the armhole is not the same as the shoulder measurement. So that's why we're eliminating this bulge. So for the front, you go in by 3/4 of an inch. For the back, you go in by 1/2 inch. Remember that this is on fold, so this is quarter on one side. So that means this 1/2 inch on this side. The other side too is 1/2 inch. So that would be 1 inch in all. Okay. So now I've done this, we have our armhole. So we come here now and enter the waist measurement. The waist measurement is 40 inches. 40 divided by 4 is 10 inches. So I have my 10 inches here. The hip measurement is 50 inches. 50 divided by 4 is 12.5. Okay, so take it down like this and get to the hemline. That's the full length. So at this hemline, remember I said I was going to add 2 inches to the measurement, 2 inches to our measurement. So now this, what we have here is this. If we have 12.5 here, and I'm adding 2 inches to it, so that will give me 14 inches. So at the hem, I'm using 14 inches. Okay, so at the hem, I'm using 14 inches. So I'll go ahead to add my sewing allowances, but that's after I've connected this line so that you can be clear that these are our sewing allowances. Okay, so I haven't done this. Now go ahead to add my sewing allowance. I'm adding a sewing allowance of 2 inches. So I'm adding to the chest 2 inches. I'm adding to the waist 2 inches. I'm going to also add to the hip 2 inches. And then of course to the hem, I'll add 2 inches. So this is me connecting my sewing allowances. Okay, so this is what we have. So to eliminate this sharpness around here, because our bodies are not sharp, I'll just blend it by coming out with like quarter of an inch or half of an inch. So can you see how I've blended it up? Okay, so now we'll go ahead for the neckline now. I'm going to be doing the front neckline and the back neckline here. Okay, so the back neckline first, I'm using a neck width of 4 inches and then a neck depth of 1.5. So here is the back neckline. So for the front neckline, it's a V neckline. I'm going to be using a neck depth of 7 inches. So here is my 7 inches, and of course the same neck width of 4 inches. So I'm going to use my curve to connect the V neckline. It's not going to be a very sharp V. That's kind of a curvy V. Don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of curvy. Can you see what we have here? So basically, we have drafted our pattern for both front and back. So I'm going to be cutting on the back because the back necklines and the back armhole, they are all smaller and higher. The back neckline is higher, the back neckline is higher, and the back armhole too is higher. So basically, they have these things in common. So I'm going to be cutting the back. I'll place it and trace it out before I go ahead to retrace my front necklines. So this is me cutting my shoulder slope first, which is the first thing to do. So cutting the back armhole. Okay. So here we are. And I'm going ahead to cut the side seams as the allowance. Okay. So I have my back now. And then go ahead to cut the back neck. So now it's time to place the fabric to get our back. The back is going to have a zip allowance. Like I said, we just drafted to get our back measurements here. And then when we place it, we'll get the actual back. So I've placed my fabric to cut out the back. So now for the back, we have a zip allowance. I'm using a zip allowance of 1.5 inches. So can you see that the back is extending forward compared to the front? Okay. So now these are basically my marks. So the only thing I'm going to be doing here now on this zip allowance, I'm going to be removing 1 inch. Let me bring out my markings here. This is the hip line. I'm going to be removing 1 inch from here. This is to eliminate bulge from the back of the dress. You don't want this dress when you sew and then it's bulging. So I'm removing 1 inch from here. So on a normal day, it depends on what we're sewing. If we're sewing a normal bust here, that's the half length, I'll be removing half inch. Well, here I'm removing 1 inch because this is a free gown. And if you remove half inch, it doesn't really take care of that bulge. You still notice that at the back, because it's free, you see the the gown bulging at the back. So that is why I removed the whole 1 inch from this point. I'll be returning that 1 inch back to the side. This is to just give the dress a slant so that it eliminates the bulge that we don't want. So you can come here now. Instead of replacing back the whole of that 1 inch, I will replace half inch. Because on a normal day, I remove half inch and just throw it away without replacing it. But now I've removed 1 inch completely. This is because at the back we are smaller at the back, at that spinal cord area. You can look at yourself in the mirror, you notice that you are smaller at the back compared to the front. So that's what causes that bulge at the back. So on a normal day, we remove half inch at the back and it takes care of the bulge. That's to just throw it away. But now I'm removing 1 inch completely. So as I'm removing this 1 inch completely, I'm coming back here to replace just half inch because half inch is supposed to be thrown away. I hope that makes sense. So I replaced back my half inch here. Here's my half inch. Okay, so here I took away 1 inch. So I'll come here now to the chest line and then I'll slant this 1 inch to this chest line. You can slant it all the way to the middle. That's to the middle back here. So which is what I'm going to even be doing. I won't leave it at the chest line because this half inch I'm replacing here now. By the time I take this half inch back, can you see what I'm doing? By the time I'm taking this half inch back, you see it's adding excess to this place. So that is why I'm eliminating it too from here so that it doesn't cause bulge too around here. I hope this makes sense. I took away 1 inch from here and I replaced back half inch here. So this half inch, I'm slanting it towards the side. So can you see it's increasing the back? It only makes sense to make sure that you also reduce this side so that what it is that has been added here is taken away from this side. Excuse me. So I'll slant it now to the hip line. As I'm rising at the hip line. Okay, so here we are. So I'll be cutting out this part. You see, it looks like a dart. I'm removing bulge from the back. So I'll come here too and slant this line, this half inch here, to meet the hip line also. So can you see what we have? So basically, what has been taken away from here, can you see, because it's going inwards here, what has been taken away from here has been added back to this point. So that's that for the front. Okay, so this is my neckline. Remember that we have a zip allowance of 1.5 inches. So I'm going to now go ahead and cut out exactly what I have here now. So, so I'm cutting the back armhole. So, cutting. Can you see the side where I'm cutting? So can you see this is making the back bigger than the front at this side. See that? So now I'm going to shift my back down so that I can take care of my front. This is my front piece now. So I'm cutting the neckline of the front. Okay. Then I also go ahead to trim the armhole of the front. Okay, so here we are. So this is my back pieces and this is my front piece. So can you see that by the time we're sewing and we sew this way, can you see my zip allowance coming back here? So now this side I have 1.5, but here I now have 1 inch. This is because at the spinal cord at the back is smaller. So if you don't take away that bulge, you will notice that the back will be looking puffy around there. You don't want that back to bulge after you finish sewing your dress. So I have a remainder of 1 inch here. Meanwhile, at this place, I have 1.5. Okay, so can you see my 1.5? I have my 1.5 at this point, and here I just have 1 inch. So I'll also be cutting lining. So I'll be cutting exactly what I have here as my lining, and then I'm going to make it 2 inches shorter because my hemming allowance is 2 inches. So my lining is going to be 2 inches shorter. So we'll go ahead to cut out our basic sleeve. So to draft the sleeve, I've placed my fabric on fold. Remember that the armhole is 9.6. So I used 9.6 plus 2 inches. So everything I have here is even more than that. So here is my 9.6 plus my 2 inches. So you can see. Okay, so here is the starting line of the sleeve. Here is the calf's height of the sleeve. How did I come about this calf's height of the sleeve? We use the bust also. The bust divided by 12 plus half inch. So for bust 49 divided by 12 plus half inch, I have 4.5. So here is the calf's height of the person. Okay, so and then from the start of the sleeve to the elbow, that's from the tip of the sleeve to the elbow length is 13 inches. The full length of the sleeve is a three-quarter sleeve I'm making is 17 inches, and then this 2 inches is for my hemming allowance. So to drop the sleeve now, I'll come down to the calf's height here, and then I'll enter the armhole measurement, which is that 9.6. So here is my 9.6. So I'll go ahead to slant this line towards the tip of the sleeve. So having slanted this line towards the tip of the sleeve, I'll get the midpoint of this line. So now that it's a slanted line, can you see it has become 10.5 because it's slanted. So here's the midpoint here. And then I'll go ahead also to get the midpoint of this point. That's of the upper part, which is here. And then I'll also bring my tape down to get the midpoint here. So I have the midpoint of the upper part and I have the midpoint of the lower part. So I'll come here and go up by half inch at the upper part. Can you see? And then I'll come to the down part and go up by half inch. You can see that this is the middle, all of them. So I went up by half inch. Okay? So I'll bring in my curved ruler and then place it like this. I want this part, this part, this part, and this part to meet. So I'll bring my curved ruler like so. Okay, so what we have? So I'll connect it on that half inch. Can you see that here is not sharp? This part is like straight. That's how the upper part of your sleeve is supposed to be. Then I'll turn my curved ruler like so, and then I'll place it this way. So this is what my sleeve looks like. So this part is going to serve as the front part of my sleeve because I'm using an Ankara fabric and it's not stretchy. Okay, this is even a little stretchy. But in the case where you're using a fabric that is not stretchy, let me show you how to get the back part of the sleeve because this will be for the front. So the back part of the sleeve, can you see? I'm just going to bring this point now. That's this half inch that I have here. I'm going to just come here from this point and then we'll come and connect it to this part. Can you see what we have? So from here to here. So basically this part, this half inch, I'm not crossing over the half inch. I'm climbing, I'm marking on top of that half inch. Okay, so can you see? And then curve it this way. So take note, this is for the back and this is for the front. Okay, so to enter the upper round arm of the person, you come down from the cap side by 1.5 and enter the upper round arm of the person. For this person, upper round arm is 17. 17 divided by 2, that's 8.5. So here is my 8.5. Okay, so here's my 8.5. The round elbow of the person is 14 inches. 14 divided by 2 is 7.7 inches. So 7. Then the three quarter circumference of the person is 12 inches. 12 divided by 2, that's 6 inches. So let's go ahead and connect our points. Can you see what we have? So this is my hemming allowance. At the hemming allowance, I'm going to come out by half of an inch. This is how it's supposed to go straight, but I'll come out by half of an inch. This is because when we're folding, it has to match up with this side. Okay, so now I'll go ahead to add my sewing allowance. Remember, I didn't talk about sewing allowance. So I'm adding 2 inches sewing allowance, just like I added to the main fabric. So here's my sewing allowance. So we're going to connect this point like this. So this is my sleeve now. So this part is just coming out this way. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. I'm cutting on this sewing allowance. So I'll cut on the back angle. On the back, that's the back side, that's the back cap of the sleeve. So can you see what we have? So this is for the back. So now I need to open this up like so. That's after I have cut out the second one. Then I'll retrim this shape. So of course this will indicate that this is for the front and then the other side is for the back. So I'll just place it and cut it out and then I'll show us how to trim it out. So after cutting out my second sleeve, so I'll come here now and trim the front armhole. So can you see it's opened? So now I have my front armhole. So you will notice that the front armhole now is deeper than the back. Can you see what the back looks like? So when you are fixing your sleeve, make sure that this side is facing the front part of your dress and this side is facing the back part of your dress. This is because our upper back is wider than the front back. This front is smaller. So for most times on, am I going to say it? On almost a general note, that many people, the difference between their shoulder measurement and the mid part of their armhole is 1.5. So that's why we went ahead to take away 3/4 from the front. And then the difference between their shoulder and the back mid part is 1 inch. So that's why I went ahead to take away ½ inch from the back armhole. Okay, so that's it. So I'm going to show us how we cut the sequence fabric that we'll be using to do our patchwork on top of the dress. So I placed my fabric to cut out the sequence. So I'll be using this sequence to achieve it. So I'm going to trace out my neckline as it is. So I'm tracing out my neckline as it is. So having done that, now you're going to measure how many inches, how do you want it to be. So I'm going to measure, I'm using 3.5. So I'm going to mark my 3.5 here, 3.5, marking my 3.5. So at this part, I want to give it that sweet heart, that's that heart shape. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? So I'm just giving it that curve. So this part is a little lower. Can you see this is my 4.5 here? Meanwhile, here is 3.5. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. So this is what I have for the first one. Okay. So can you see what it looks like? See the sweeter shape I have. So I'll quickly go ahead to cut out the square shapes that will give me the diamond shape on the lower part of the dress. I need three of this. I need three of this. So, and I'm going to be cutting out square shapes. So it's going to, they're going to be equal. So let me take the measurement from what I have here on fold. Here I have 6.5, which is 13 inches. So I'm going to be looking for a length of the same 13 inches. So here's my 13 inches. And then here is my 6.5. So I'll go ahead to connect my line like this. So here we are. So I'm going ahead to cut it out. I need three of this. I'm needing three of this. So I have one. I'll use this one to cut the remaining out. This is how I'm going to be placing it in the fabric. So let me cut out the remaining. I'll show us the next thing to do. So I've cut out all my pieces. That's the patches I'll be using for this part, and I've also gone ahead to cut the linings for them. Okay, so I'm going to be placing the lining on the good side of the sequence, and then I'll sew it round. After sewing it round, open a hole here that I'll use to turn it out. That's what I'll be doing. So for this one that is on the neckline, all I need to do is to sew it this way. I'm going to sew it following the heart shape. I'm going to sew it following the heart shape, then I'll turn it out. Okay, and place it on the neck. Then I'll go ahead to use my lining to turn it. So I've also gone ahead to cut the lining for the main body. So you can see this is the lining for the back, and I also have the lining for the front. Also have the lining for, so this is the lining, it's a full lining. So for my sleeve, I've also cut out the lining for it. So it's time for us to sew. So I'll show us how to place the patches on it when we are done sewing them. I've gone ahead to turn my patches. As you can see, I opened a hole at the back. and turned it out. That's and brought out my sequence. Okay, so the same thing is applicable to all three of them. So you can see. So and I have the upper one, which is the heart shape that will give me the V neckline. Can you see? So right now I'm going to be top stitching them. So you can use hemming gum to first hold them down before you go ahead to top stitch it. Okay, so now you see I have my crease line showing here. So this will just be a guide so that you are able to centralize your patches. Okay, so here now this is what I'll be doing. I'm placing it on my crease line like so. So with this crease line, you don't have a problem of you have more on this side and have less on this side. They are going to be all equal. So long as it's a perfect square, you cut. Okay, so this is what I have. So I'm going to be pinning them down and then I'll go ahead and top stitch them. Like I said, you can use hemming gum to iron it first. That's to stick it to the dress. Okay, so if you put your hemming gum, then you press it. Okay, for now I don't have light to do that, so, and I don't want to use the other iron for that. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch it. So this is what I have. So I'll go ahead to pin it down. So after sewing this one first, I'll pin this one and sew it. But I'm just showing us how I'm going to do it. So when I'm done, I will come back and show us what it looks like. Okay, this is the outcome of our gown. Can you see how beautiful it turned out? I hope you enjoyed making this video with me. If you did, please do not hesitate to subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it, and don't forget to put on the notification bell. Thanks for watching. Bye.